So welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio and, of course, my YouTube channel. I'm very excited that my guest today is a super talented actress. She's done it all. It's the fantastic Michelle Collins. Thank you for joining me, Michelle.
Hello, how are you?
Not too bad, thank you. And how are you
Good.
getting on?
Yes, I'm okay. Still here.
Now,
Still
obviously,
zooming.
now I say that is the way we are at the moment. Is that the world has changed. Everyone is online. Everyone's doing Zooms, Skypes, and all that. How have you found the change recently that everyone's having to do?
Yeah, I've sort of been okay. I think when it was quite strict lockdown, I think everyone found that in a way easier to deal with because I think you knew that nobody else was doing anything. So there wasn't this sort of FOMO in a way, this fear of missing out on something. I don't know, it's quite weird, isn't it? But I just before lockdown, I'd rehearsed, I was doing a play, I was doing a national tour of the birthday party, a Harold Pinter play. And we were opening at Cheltenham Everyman, and then it was a big tour, Manchester, Edinburgh, everywhere, London. And so we did a week's rehearsal, and then we went in on the Monday, and then we were told that basically that was it. So that was a bit of a shock. And I think we thought, well, we'll probably have a couple of weeks off, and then we'll go back. I think that's what we thought then, And actually, then obviously, we all realised how serious this all was. And then I had Edinburgh coming, and then I was doing my first one-woman show in Edinburgh, which I was co-producing as well. And then obviously Edinburgh went, and it was like, oh my God, this whole thing really is quite serious, isn't it? So, and that was a bit, well, more than disappointing. I was a bit gutted really, because I'd always wanted to play Meg in the birthday party. If anyone doesn't know the birthday party, cornflakes is quite a big part of the birthday party. She makes a lot of cornflakes, Meg. No, it's a real gift of a role. Anyway, you know what? Maybe it'll happen. They are talking about possibly next spring, so we don't. But I got on with it. My boyfriend did a lot of decorating the house. My mum's quite vulnerable, so I was looking after her. I was delivering food banks, which I'm still doing that now, actually. I was doing a lot of cooking on Instagram. Yeah, I sort of dealt with it okay. But I think it's harder now because, it's like, what are we doing? And also everyone's going back to work, apart from people in the arts, which is really frustrating. And we don't really know when we're going back. I mean, some TVs have gone back. I think the soaps have gone back. Theatre will probably not be going back till next spring. I don't think there's going to be any pantos. And normally I would do a panto, which I love doing. So it's a little bit fear of the unknown at the moment, I think, isn't it?
I mean, I was hoping to come and see you when you were going to do the birthday party because I was going to come and see it in Milton Keynes. So it's obviously a shame that didn't get to happen. But it must be hard for you because when you're working so hard to put a play together and there's a lot of work that goes into it, and then for it to just be taken away like that must be heartbreaking in a way because you've put so much of your time and energy into it.
Yeah, very much. It does sort of feel like your livelihood's just been taken away from under your feet. And I think a lot of people feel like that in my industry, particularly theatre, because, it's out of our hands, isn't it? It's completely out of our hands. And, you're not an actor unless you're acting at the end of the day. And I think we didn't realise that early on, the catastrophic effect that this virus would have on everybody. Of course, it's been, on everybody, and everyone's been affected in every way. But obviously, I'm just going to talk about how it's affected me and my industry. And it has affected it very badly and will do for the future, I think. And I mean, I think it's going to take a long time, at least a year or so, for things to recover from it. So, I don't know when. Edinburgh will probably happen. We've still got the venue, in a year's time, which doesn't quite seem the same. So I've done a bit of producing anyway. The last sort of couple of years, I produced a play. I've done a film. So I'm trying to get more into that producing side of things, trying to be very proactive, like a lot of people. I think that's the thing that you have to do. And I think it is a really devastating time for a lot of people. But I think it's also a time for creativity and innovation.
I mean,
as well.
you've been very busy because you have been calling on a lot of your celebrity friends to kind of help to raise money for people in the arts who are, you know, going to struggle because they're obviously, you know, doing the jobs that you know that they don't necessarily pay well, and the fact that they've now got that job, they haven't got that job.
No.
So it must be nice that you've been able to sort of give back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the reason, so I know I've worked with a lot of young actors, particularly in London, you know, at the Park and at Southwark and Hampstead and places like that, who when they're working, they're doing the show in the evening, they all generally work in hospitality, or one person I worked with was a care worker, actually. So they all work during the day, then they come to the theatre and they do the play at night. And I just started to think, you know, during lockdown, God, this is really awful. What's going to happen to people? Because a lot of actors supplement themselves through hospitality. And I just felt a bit, I don't know, just sort of a bit useless really, and thought, I really want to help. What can I do? And I remember I saw Julie Walters on Twitter doing a piece to camera, you know, about the Equities Benevolent Fund. So I have quite a good relationship with Equity, and I called them up and I spoke to Matt Hood and I said, look, I really want to do something. And he told me about the fund. They already have an ongoing Actors Benevolent Fund, but they've also set up an emergency fund where they give cash donations of up to £400 to Equity members, because obviously Equity members aren't just actors, they're performers in every sort of way, or stage management people, designers, you know, so he said, yes, we'd love you to do something. So I sort of thought, what can I do? Okay, I'll do monologues. So I had this crazy idea that I would ask people, and within about 3 or 4 days, I had, and this was just an idea, I didn't have anything solid. I'd had Ian McKellen, Derek Jacobi, Leslie Manville, Sue Johnston, Jason Manville, Leighton Williams, Lenny James, Miriam Teakley. So within about 4 or 5 days, I had about 50 people who'd all agreed to do monologues for me. So the sort of premise was that they do a monologue under 5 minutes, although Jason Watkins' monologue was 12 minutes. But he's so good, we couldn't tell him we couldn't cut it, possibly. So I got some friends of mine on board, because it was getting a bit big for me to handle on my own. Some friends of mine I'd worked with before from Junicia's Pictures, Debbie Gray and Sam Cornish, and they helped me collate everything and put them all together. And I think we'd sort of released it. It took about 2 weeks in all. And yeah, I mean, the standard is incredible, because I didn't really know what to expect. They were doing them all in their own home. Oh, Leslie Joseph, Elaine Page. I think Leslie was a bit worried about, you know, doing one at home. And there's something, I think there was something special that happened in lockdown. There was a great intimacy and a poignancy about the monologues that they did. And some were really moving, some were really funny. They were great, actually. And I think the actors really enjoyed it as well, because it gave them something to do while they're in lockdown as well. And they really cared about them, and you know, and they're just of a really high standard. And so they're online, they're on YouTube, Equity's YouTube channel. And I think we've raised up to 35k.
You must be so, you know, proud that you've been able to do that, and that you've got the platform that you can get all these people together and help people who, you know, who would be struggling otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And as a sort of a mature person in the industry, you know, I know how hard it is for younger people and it does worry me that, you know, younger people will leave the industry because they can't afford to be in it anymore, and then it just becomes sort of elitist. And if you don't come, you know, if your parents aren't supporting you, or you don't come from a certain type of background, then how are you going to survive it? And then, you know, also, you know, the big package that came out yesterday, I think, that's obviously has been split between the arts, split between theatres and heritage, museums, music. It's great, but it's not really, actors aren't going to benefit. Actors will benefit in some ways in the long run, because obviously, hopefully it will keep theatres open, but you just hope that money doesn't go to all the big boys, I call them, you know, to keep all the big buildings open. You know, we really need this money to go to the regional theatres as well, because a lot of young actors start out in the regional theatres, and the regional theatres keep a lot of actors going, you know.
And also, I'd say that for a lot of people that maybe aren't naturally theatre goers, I think the regional ones are a great introduction to going to the theatre because it's on your doorstep.
Yeah, and also, you know, you get great quality, you get West End shows doing these tours now. And and these provide a sort of a rep for people working in theatre. And also, you know, these theatres are not just for plays, they are obviously for live music as well, comedy. They're a real hub of the community, I think, and they, you know, they have youth theatres, dementia-friendly cafes, mother and baby groups, art exhibitions. So it'd be really sad, you know, to see these go. Southampton, the Nothing Theatre Southampton, I know that went recently. That was one of the first theatres I worked at a long time ago. Nottingham Playhouse, I think I worked, which is in trouble, I see. You just hope that this isn't, you know, a little bit too late, really. Well, let's just see what happens. But I do still worry that in the short term, what are actors going to do?
I mean, we don't just have obviously the worry of what will happen to the young actors. I mean, I know Dame Judi Dench said that she worries whether she'll ever get to perform in a live theatre, being at the age she is now. So it really is for both sides.
And let's face it, come on, you know, Dame Judi, she's had a brilliant career, hasn't she? Really, you know, and that's great. And so I think it is the younger ones we do need to worry about. Of course, yes, older actors have to make a living, but for me, it's younger people generally, not just in the arts. I think it's the real younger people. You know, I've got a daughter of 23. They're going to really suffer because of this, and not only suffer financially and economically, but I also think, you know, their mental health. It's going to be a really hard time. You've got nearly 3,000 students coming out of drama school, or look at all the university students that are coming out of university. There's going to be a massive unemployment. Sorry, I'm really sounding doom and gloom.
No, that's all right.
But anyway, I just think we have to face reality, and you know, I wanted to do something to help, and I'm sure a lot of people could do things if they put their mind to it. You know, it's very easy to sit at home and just look at social media all day and not do anything. So I think, like I said again, though, I think we have to try and be positive, and it is a time for creativity and innovation, I hope.
And the other thing is people need to keep busy because, I mean, I've said it many times, mental health is so important. You know, you don't just want to sit around, get out of any sort of routine. You need to keep structuring your day, really.
Yeah. And also, you know, what have people been doing in lockdown? They've been entertained. They've been looking at TV and film and watching theatre online and streaming and everything. So when people say, oh, we don't need the arts, you're like, I'm sorry, I think we do. You know, what did Judi Dench say? Dame Judi, she said, theatre's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And I think it's true. We'd really miss it if it wasn't there.
I mean, everyone, you know, day to day, you'll either put on the radio and listen to music, you'll, you know, put the telly on and watch telly or a film.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
You know, it's part of everyday life. Even if you think it's not, it is.
Well, also, I think there'd be a big void in life, wouldn't they? Wouldn't there? You know, we'd be a very sad country, I think. And also, the arts bring like over 120 billion into this country every year. That's a lot of money. And, you know, more people go to theatre than they do to football matches. Can you believe that? But basically, this government was more concerned about getting the football back. Let's get the football back. Let's get the betting shops open. You know, you just think, oh, it gets a bit frustrating sometimes. But, so, you know, we have to sort of, you know, be positive and try and do what we can. So I don't know, you know, unless I get a TV or something, I'm not sure when I'm going to be going back to work, really. In fact, I've just started gardening. Got a bit fed up with cooking. Started gardening.
But that's the thing, is everyone's sort of found new interests and new things to do.
Yeah, and I think, you know, and I don't know, maybe you sort of, there's a part of me that thinks, was this meant to happen to make us all, you know, suddenly stop?
We've all pushed the reset button or something.
Stop, rethink our lives, just stop for a minute, because life is really crazy, isn't it? And, you know, and actually what's interesting though, isn't it? Because we all go on about social media and how it's really bad for our mental health. But actually social media has got through a lot of people through this. Without social media, what would people have done?
I mean, and also it's a great way of connecting. I mean, a lot of people have said that over this time they've been able to reconnect with people that they've maybe lost touch with. So it has brought people closer together as well.
Definitely, and I've done that. I've called people that perhaps and also to actually talk to people rather than just texting people all the time. You know, I think is really nice. And I've touched base with a lot of people I haven't seen for a long, long time, and reconnecting. Yeah, and I think that's important. And sadly, now, I mean, obviously it's getting better that we can see people, but I think we all realise how important it is to actually see people, to connect with people, and going to see a play actually with people on stage, you know, and connecting. It's all about that, really, isn't it? So I'm really pleased that things are starting to get back to normal, because I think, you know, my high street suddenly got quite busy again, and things like charity shops are open, and you know, and those sort of places are really important for people. Little cafes.
Everyone, you know, as long as they're doing their best to keep safe and everything, I think you have to get back to some sort of normality, because otherwise, you know, we're just going to continue existing and not doing anything.
Well, you know, the economy would really suffer, wouldn't it? And then where would we be? But I think there has to come to a point where we have to, and we also have to be responsible for ourselves, and go out, and obviously, you know, make sure you're socially distancing and you've got the right PPE, and that's sort of become the norm now, hasn't it? Which I think will probably be for quite a while.
I mean, I think it'll probably be next year before, you know, people are getting back to how we were this time last year.
Yeah, well, this is why it's really sad, the whole theatre thing, isn't it? Because it's very difficult to socially distance in the theatre. Because, you know, we're all about hugging and kissing and like, oh, hello, darling, and all this lovey-lovey, aren't we?
And also the thing with a lot of the older theatres is they're a lot smaller, they're a lot more intimate, and so trying to socially distance in the audience.
People share dressing rooms. You know, you have a costume person fitting you, and I mean, it's in everything. You know, in TV with makeup. I mean, a friend of mine works on a soap, and apparently, you know, they give all the actors the makeup and buy them brushes and things, and they're not allowed to go near them. They have to do it all themselves.
I mean,
so we'll have a lot of shows with people with really bad makeup on coming up soon, I think.
Well, I think there was I think a scene on Coronation Street where the actor who plays Nick Tilsley, in one scene he had grey hair, then he went to like his original hair, and then it went back to grey again. So you're going to have a lot of that, I think.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, listen, didn't they have an IKEA hat box in Titanic? So it happens everywhere, I think. That's a continuity problem.
Exactly. Now, obviously, talking about, you know, the soaps and everything, they're all, you know, doing their best to come back. EastEnders obviously is on a break at the moment. So I mean, they're doing a lot of replaying the old episodes, and obviously, I know you'll probably crop up in a couple of the episodes. For you, was there an iconic episode for you, one that you loved to do?
No, not, you know, it was such a long time. You know, I left EastEnders 23 years ago, which is a long time. No, there wasn't really an iconic episode, I don't think. I was very lucky. I had some fantastic storylines. And I was kept very busy as a character, because you really don't want to go into a soap and not do anything. And actors love to moan, as we all know. And I was, you know, the writers really liked writing for Cindy. So, no, you know, I had a great time. And then when I wasn't having so much of a great time, I decided to go. And I think, I didn't want to be there and moaning about being there. That's what I didn't want to do. So I had, you know, a good 10 years, sort of on and off, I think. Originally I went in 88 and I finally left in 98. So yeah. I don't think there is a real iconic moment. I think Cindy had lots of iconic moments, really.
And I mean, the amazing thing about your career is you've been able to do so many types of different roles. So I imagine there's never time for you to get bored, because you're able to do so many different characters, so many different, you know, types of plays. You know, the sort of the you know, sort of stuff to do with old styles, and you know, like you know, it's a real mixed bag of, and also like whether you're doing comedy, straight acting, all of that sort of thing as well.
Yes, but you know what? I think if you ask any actor would moan about their career. They would go, oh, I'd like to do a bit more of this. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not the sort of person to pat myself on the back and go, oh yeah, I've had an amazing career. You know, I'm still really ambitious. I still really enjoy working. I'd like to sort of write and produce a bit more now. And I produced a play that I was in. I produced a film that we won quite a few awards at. So I'm veering towards producing, writing, not so much directing, but I'm very good at sort of putting people together. So that's what I'd quite like to do, a mixture of that and acting. You know, I think as a woman, as you get older, it changes. Your career does change because we are a country obsessed with youth. And I think that when you get in your 40s and 50s, it becomes slightly more difficult. It's not that, it's because the parts aren't there. They're just not there for older women. I think it's getting better. It is getting better. But, you know, there are still a lot more things I'd like to do. I haven't done as much period work as I'd quite like to. You know, I enjoyed doing Miss Marple, which was set in the 40s, and I'd like to do a bit more of that. But yeah, I mean, I suppose in a way, actors can sort of cope with things like this situation, lockdown and everything, because we're sort of used to working on and off as well, aren't we? You know, we're self-employed, so we're used to those times of not doing anything, having time off and then working, so we can sort of deal with it in a way. I mean, when I was much younger, I literally went from one job to another, and in a way I think I was probably a bit overworked, whereas now I don't do that so much. I feel like I have a better quality of life as I've got older.
And do you think the way that TV and, you know, all of that works, do you think it will change from everything we've gone through? I mean, we have seen some series that have, you know, like I think there was the Isolation Stories that was on ITV, which was all filmed in lockdown. So do you think, with the wonders of technology, do you think the way TV is filmed may change?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that. I think people want to see proper TV. I don't think they. I think it's interesting and it's different seeing, you know, like the thing we saw with David Tennant and Michael Sheen on it, and it's interesting. But I don't think you want to see that all the time. You want to go back to seeing something how it's properly filmed, I think. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe people do want to see that, but I'd quite like to see. I like to watch sort of TV old-fashioned style. You know. But yeah, and I think, you know, TV will go back, but it'll just take time. But I also think there's probably going to be a lot more TV with, you know, a lot of streaming channels coming up, and there are a lot more channels now, obviously, you know, and Acorn has started here, and you've got, you know, Facebook and Apple, and I mean, there's so many channels.
There seems to also be a lot more big budget TV shows that, like, you know, coming from either America, some from within the UK.
Yeah, so, I don't know if they'll come from here. Probably more America. I mean, they have massive budgets, don't they? I don't think we have as big budgets as they do. They have big budgets probably because they can. I don't know. I think maybe, you know, I think it will affect features possibly more than TV. I think it might be harder to get the money for features or independent film.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, going forward, would you say, because I know you say you touched upon the fact you'd love to do more period dramas, is there a dream role for you or a dream project you would love to work on?
I mean, I like doing collaborative things. Like you know, I did a series called Real Women years ago, and I'd loved doing that. I loved, you know, we had Frances Barber, Leslie Manville, Pauline Quirk, Winston, some really great actresses. I'd like to do something more collaborative, maybe with a group of women. You know, there's a fantastic thing coming out called, I think, is it Mrs. America with Kate Blanchett? It's got an amazing cast: Kate Blanchett, Tracy Ullman, Sarah Paulson. I mean, it looks amazing. And actually, Amma Asante, who is a friend of mine, has directed one of them. That looks amazing. I'd like to do things like that, which are all women things. Yeah, I don't, you know, I say period pieces or modern pieces. You know, I did a one-off with Philip Leinster where I played a cop. I haven't played a cop for a long time.
That'd be quite cool.
You I just, as long as it's well written, I think if something's not well written, then I don't think any actor can save a job. And nobody, and listen, we've all done our corkers. We've all done things that we really didn't want to do, but we had to do them, because of various reasons. But there were some really great writers out there, and I suppose every actor my age probably wants to be a Jane Tennyson, or wants to be in the new Prime Suspect. We'd all love to do, and there's some great writers out there. I love Russell T Davies. I love Sally Wainwright is great. There's some brilliant Abby Morgan. There's some fantastic writers out there. I think we need more female writers. That would be good. And get more female-led dramas out there.
Definitely. I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. But before we go, is there any messages you would like to give to anyone listening in hospital who's obviously stuck in hospital? Any sort of messages you'd like to give to them?
Oh gosh, just to say, I hope they're looking after you, and I hope you're not going to be there too long. And no, it can't be very nice being in hospital, can it really? And I'm quite fortunate. I haven't been in hospital that many times in my entire life, but just, I'm sure you're being well looked after. And podcasts are great. I'm very into podcasts, so I'm sure they're great to listen to in hospital. I like a good true crime one. I like a good true crime podcast. Just sending lots of love to all you people in hospital, and I hope they're looking after you, and you're eating nice food, and I'm sure you won't be in there for long. So sending you lots of love.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure, as always, to talk to you. Keep safe, and thank you again for your time.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry it's taken so long for us to get there. Maybe we'll hopefully you'll be able to see something I'm in one day.
Hopefully. I'll hold you to that.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
Streetcar Named Desire. That's what I'd like to play Stella in Streetcar Named Desire. I hope that might come off soon before I get too mature of that. But then on the stage, it doesn't matter, does it really?
Fingers crossed for you there.
Take care. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work, Matthew.
Thank you.